I tell you, my friends, do not be afraid of those who kill the body, and after that can do no more. But I will show you who you should fear. Fear him who, after killing the body, has the power to throw you into hell. Yes, I tell you, fear him. We want to talk to you about why you should believe in hell. Now, there's some good news and bad news concerning Americans' belief in hell. The good news is 69% say they believe in hell. You know, that's a significant number, and that brings me a lot of encouragement to know that most Americans are smart enough to recognize there is a hell after the life to come. Well, the bad news, however, is that almost everyone believes that there's a heaven. So while there are many people who accept the good side to the afterlife, there are a lot of people who won't accept the bad side. But I've learned this: if there's a light, there's darkness. If there's good, there's evil. If there's up, there's down. If there's God, there's Satan. And friend, if there's a heaven, there's a hell. And Jesus himself told us there is a hell to avoid. So there are good statistics. Most people do believe in hell. Even those people who believe in hell, I think there's not a clear understanding in their mind as to who goes there. What is it really? Because a lot of people will say there's a hell, but they may not think of it as far as eternity is concerned. But I believe we need to understand hell, what it means, because it will do good in our lives. Now, at this time, somebody might say, now, Pastor, are you one of those hell, fire, and brimstone preachers? You know, you're just kind of these archaic preachers who are just trying to scare the hell out of us. Well, that's not a bad, ambition, I think, to get us so afraid that we do something with our lives to help us avoid hell. And somebody might say, well, now, Pastor, isn't fear a very bad motive to do anything? Friend, fear is a motive to do things. Is it the highest motive? Surely love is a greater motive to do things. But how many of y'all know you may love things and love people, but sometimes it's the fear of bad things happening that really causes us to avoid things. See, Jesus knew how fear is a motivator. Don't make any mistake about it. Fear motivates us for a lot of things. You can have a husband who absolutely loves his wife, would never want to cheat on her, really loves her, but it's the fear that she would smack him that keeps him living right. You understand? It's not just, I love you. It's the fear that, man, I could ruin my marriage. I can ruin my career. I could do this and that. See, you understand? There's the fear. See, and fear does motivate us. I don't think we realize how much it motivates us. Look at the animal kingdom. You can look at animals and recognize very clearly that their whole lives are motivated by fear. You understand? If there's a predator, they will fear and do whatever they can to avoid being killed. See, well, we may not be animals, but we have that same instinct of avoiding things that we are afraid of. And Jesus knows that motivates us, so he tells us, you want a real motivating factor, a real motivation to live right? Here's what I tell you. Why don't you fear God, who can do more than kill the body? He can cast your soul into hell. 2020 showed the story of that one man who took a gun and shot 3 people. You know what? Those 3 people no doubt were afraid. They were shell-shocked, as he put it. But friend, whether he knows it or not, all he could do was kill their body. God could take that very man who shot him and throw that man into eternal fire that never is quenched. See, there is a real hell. Jesus taught it. So fear does motivate. In fact, I wish we had a little bit more fear. Because Psalm 111 verse 10 says, the fear of the Lord is what? The beginning of wisdom. How many of y'all want to be wise? Come on, wisdom is a good thing. Wisdom enables you to do things that helps your future. And you know what God says is the beginning where we get all wisdom? Listen, it's not the school system that's the beginning of wisdom. Hello? It's no, the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. You know what he's saying? If you start off with fearing God, learning his fear can cause you to be wise in a lot of things. See, I wish we learned to be afraid of certain things, because that would have helped us avoid making terrible mistakes in our lives. For example, I wish that young girl was afraid of getting pregnant. Instead, she wasn't afraid of getting pregnant. She didn't mind sleeping around and took the risk. And now she's pregnant. Her life is all upside down. All because why? She wasn't afraid of getting pregnant. See, I want my daughter to be afraid of getting pregnant, because that fear can motivate her. Even if her body is saying one thing, even if her emotions are saying one thing, the fear could grip her. Because I'm telling you, fear can be a greater motivator than love. Because even though she may love somebody, that fear can grip her and say, you know what, as much as I love you, man, I'm afraid I'm going to get caught and get pregnant and my life's going to be ruined. I'm going to be ashamed. I'm not going to do it. Do you see how fear can stop us? But a lot of people didn't have that kind of fear. I wish there were more people that have the fear of drinking and driving. That's right. But you know what? There's some people who didn't have any fear of drinking and driving, and today they're in prison because of it. They've lost their license. They may have injured someone. They may have killed someone. They may be crippled themselves, maybe in a hospital, all because they didn't fear drinking and driving. I wish more people were afraid of getting caught by the law. They wouldn't have tried to take the drugs and cross to the border. But see, they weren't afraid of getting caught. Now they're in prison today. I wish people were afraid of robbing that bank, but they weren't. Now they're in prison. Why? Because they weren't afraid of getting caught. Do you realize how fear can help us avoid doing wrong things in life? Fear's a good motivator. I wish husbands and wives were more afraid of adultery, because then they would avoid it if they had enough fear of what it could do to their marriage, to their lives. But what happens? The fear's not there. People are willing to take risk. I wish people were afraid of taking that first drug, because they heard that people get addicted. But see, they thought they were invincible. They thought no harm was going to come to them. So they took it anyway. There wasn't enough fear. See, I never took drugs because I was so afraid, because I thought it's possible to get addicted. I thought about cigarettes. I didn't want to smoke because I thought you could get addicted. A lot of things I was afraid of that kept me away from some of those things. And fear is good. But what we should not be afraid of are those things that are kind of beyond our control. See, there's no need to be afraid of the doctor's report, because God is your healer. See, you don't need to be afraid about the plant closings, because God's your provider. See, a lot of times we're afraid of things that seem to be outside of our control, but the things that are within our control, the things we do, we seem like we're not afraid of that. Isn't that strange? But we need to learn to fear. But now, wait a minute. We can see how good fear could keep us from doing terrible things that will hurt our lives. Okay? But here's what Jesus said. I got something that is even more important than being afraid of getting pregnant out of wedlock, being afraid of being addicted to drugs or going to prison or losing your marriage or losing your career. I got something that's even worse. What about losing your soul? What about living a life without God, which would cost you your eternal soul? We're not talking about prison. We're not talking about pregnancy. We're not talking about drug addiction. We're talking about spending all of eternity burning in the flames of hell.